Conservative isn't just a word, it's a movement, a way of life.
And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
The Conservative Roundtable discusses the conservative movement at the local, state, and national level. Here's your host, Ralph Larigo, chairman of the Erie County Conservative Party on 1270 The Patriot.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Patriot. Again, our call-in line is 716-500-1270. 716-500-1270. We're going to get back to Tom. We've got a number of things we want to finish up with him, and then we'll get to our next guest, Sheriff John Garcia. But, Tom, tell us about the Second Amendment. Where do you see us with regard to the Second Amendment? Certainly in New York, they've tried to emasculate it as much as they possibly can. What's going on?
Well, first of all, I am a Second Amendment fanatic of support. I've just have zero tolerance for trying to take away our right to bear arms. New York City is the most regulated, gun prohibitive place in the entire United States. And so I, who have carried a personal protection pistol permit since I was 23, would know better than to take a pistol down there, because any legal law-abiding citizen knows that it's against the law to show up there.
That's right.
So I've watched the governor of this state this week when a fanatic problem with a terrible killing spree that killed a New York City cop. And so what do we hear? We need federal laws because our state law is the most restringent in the state, and then add the New York City on top of it can't do the job. And as if it's the federal government's fault, or it's legal licensed people, or those who participate in the sport of long rifles. And it just has to be fought. It has to be fought in the courts. It has to be fought on who we measure that's running for public office in every state office. And guys like DiPietro that are coming on here later today is a warrior in this front. And we have to make sure we continue to, as members retire and change, that we continue sending Second Amendment right supporters in the state legislature. But this is hogwash to have the Democrats in New York City that can't run their own city give us that we need some other level of infringement on our Second Amendment rights.
Certainly, it's one of the most important issues for the Conservative Party. We are going to be doing a show on Second Amendment. We will have the 1791 Society. We will have Bud Schroeder. We will be talking about it because it is a very, very important topic to conservatives.
And by the way, we just need to thank the Bud Schroeders and Scope and 1790 for what they have done to hold the principles of this, even in some of the darkest hours where people wanted to take away our right to bear arms. And thank you for what you do. And I was damn proud to be an NRA and a A+ rating of Scope and those who looked at it.
I understand that when you were in Congress, you had the third highest conservative rating.
It's pretty good, Ralph. You were tough on me.
We had to, we have to keep everybody in line. So, look, that's a very important topic. Illegal immigration, another extremely important topic that really Trump has garnered the country on. He's really got people behind him. It all started really with illegal immigration, right?
You bet. I mean, we're looking at what was. I mean, just when I think of some of the nightly media reports on the people standing in line coming over and the defiance of our laws. And quite frankly, and some were saying, oh, we got to be careful. Some of the immigrants, we're a country of immigrants, but there's a system. There's get in line. And the Latinos have taught us that better than any. I came, I waited in line, I did everything legally so that I'm a United States citizen by doing the right thing. And these guys are swarming in. And then you look at the crimes committed, and the president took it on as a candidate. He took it on as a president, and he got the Congress to put the type of dollars together and the fortitude to go in and begin to clean up the illegal immigration to where today it is not 6 months later the crisis it was as Joe Biden finished his presidency. There's work to be done, and we have to root them out. Some are burrowed into places, and we still have to work on how we work on having the opportunity of having a legitimate immigration program in our country, because we are a country of immigrants and we want to continue that, but we cannot have the illegals coming over here and then getting on our social services programs and then have the Democrats scream that you're taking it away because we're asking the illegals to go back and leave the country.
The Democrats, the way they talk to everybody, I mean, my father was first generation born here. I'm the second generation only born here. My grandparents came here. Illegal immigration. We all respect immigration. We all respect that most of us came here that way, that many of us are first, second, third generation. But we all came through a legal process, and that's the way it has to be respected. That's the way that this country needs to operate. You can't just open up borders because Democrats want illegals to vote, because, again, Democrats go to these 5%, 10%ers, and they buy their votes through pandering to these people, and that's certainly what they've done with illegal immigration, and that's certainly what Kathy Hochul has done in New York State. I want to talk about what's happening now in New York City with Mamdani being the presumptive, well, he has the Democratic nomination at this point in time. How do you see Mamdani in New York City? We have in Los Angeles another far-left governor or a mayor. What do you think happens? Do you think Mamdani actually is able to win? It's that far to the left?
I think that he is headed to be the mayor of the city of New York. We have Andrew Cuomo, who is still in, but having difficulty getting traction now on just the independent line. And we have Mayor Adams, who made the decision not to run in the Democratic Party and to run as an independent. This week alone, there's some question his petitions. He is having difficulty getting traction. Even the real estate, the commercial real estate of New York City and others that are living in fear of having someone as a Democratic socialist as their mayor are not truly figured out where they want to support a candidate. They're looking who's going to get the traction of those two. And both Cuomo and Adams certainly have strength in the African American and the black community, but they also have it in some of the Orthodox Jewish areas of the city, both of them. So they're actually pulling off each other's strength, where some of that's going to have to get sorted out. So if Mamdani continues, here's what I look at. Elections are showing up with strange results from time to time, and I don't think anything is exactly considered safe. Andrew Cuomo was the guy that was the guy to beat, and all of a sudden he doesn't win. And so what I like most about this as a right-of-center Republican conservative is I want Mamdani to be the face of the Democratic Party.
I totally agree with you.
Quite frankly, he is. Because we're seeing that at the national level, there are more progressives on the Democratic caucus than there are regular Democrats. And so when you look, these leaders are counting how many do I have with me versus I could be toppled by the left. And that includes the state legislature, and it includes Hakeem Jeffries. And they think about this. You have a new Democratic nominee. They're used to these bloodbaths, except no one's rushing to endorse the guy because they know the consequence here,
That's
Ralph.
right.
And I want the president in his branding to say it's us versus them. And there's the face, Mamdani of the Democratic Party, the best known face of the Democratic Party, versus the Republicans, and I, as the MAGA leader, am the face of the Republican Party.
I gotta jump on the Amherst
right ahead.
aspect of this, Tom. Now you got my blood going. You know, there's the Working Families Party and there's the Conservative Party. Our Republican candidates for town office in Amherst have been endorsed by the Conservative Party. So we're running Republican Conservative. The Democrats in the town of Amherst are running as Democrat working families. Mr. Mondami's party, the Working Families Party, exactly. They stand for defund the police. They stand for state-owned grocery stores. I ask the voters in Amherst, whether you're an independent or even a Democrat, ask yourself, is that where you think, is that where you align philosophically with Mondami? In the town of Amherst, I think that's something the voters need to ask themselves. Mondami's been endorsed and supported strongly by the Working Families Party, and every Democrat running in Amherst this year is endorsed by the Working Families Party.
We need to be aware. We need to be afraid of people who are willing to take the Working Families endorsement. Just go online and look at what the Working Families stand for. You'll be shocked. It's more than being shocked. I can't believe people in Buffalo will accept anybody that takes that line. Yet, like you say, your candidate or the Democratic candidates in Amherst have all taken that line. I mean,
that's right, Ralph.
Tom, what do you think of Mondami? Let's tax white neighborhoods. What does that convey?
Well, I just look at this guy as a smooth talker using today's technology of politics. What's that mean? He's used social media. He's used other types of things to make his candidacy from a less than funded campaign than what Andrew Cuomo had. And he went out into the masses and sold this thing. But I have also been in a room where I listened to Nancy Pelosi, and if you didn't know she was a liberal icon of the Democratic Party, you'd think she was a moderate with public-private partnerships and other things. She's advanced. And so how he says it might be whatever's out there. But you look at his track record, both in the assembly when he did show up to vote, and when you look at what he stands for and what the Socialist Democrats stand for. I'll take that as the face of the Democratic Party. They've got some rebuilding to do.
So the last thing I want to talk to you about, because we do have Garcia going to come on, and there's a lot.
And he's got important things to say.
He's got a lot of good things to say. There's no question. I have great respect for Sheriff Garcia.
So do I.
But
he's doing a great job. He was made from Central Casting to be our sheriff.
Well, I'm going to talk about his background, and when people realize what I'm going to talk about, they're going to have a great deal of respect for somebody I have a great deal of respect for. But one last thing, we've done the checking. We've checked the voting record of both Sean Ryan and Mondami, and it's 95% the same. Sean Ryan, what do you see with Sean Ryan, winning the Democratic primary here in Buffalo? He is only 3 steps behind, maybe 2 steps behind Mondami. I mean, can Buffalo really, we really that bad off that we're going to accept someone who's a couple steps behind Mondami?
Ralph, that is a very interesting question because Ryan was able to assemble both the party boss structure of the Democratic Party and the progressives and unify that in a race that won over the acting mayor. And I think that what needs to happen over the next several months, just as it's going to happen, because we're listening to Bob Davis on your show say what he's leading with his people in carrying a message here. Chairman Cracker and our Republican structure, as outnumbered as we are in affiliation, I'm a guy that when I say I believe that Byron Brown could win on a write-in if we all worked hard and really put together the effort across the board here. And I was pleased to see the result of that, to stop a Democratic Socialist 4 years ago. So the real question is of people saddling up and determining whether they want to do that. And it's not just our candidate on the Republican conservative line. It's not just you as a leader of the Conservative Party or Cracker. It's, does the community want to be led by the left, or will they take this by the bullhorns and get a moderate Republican conservative type coalition going?
All right. I think, I can't fathom that the city of Buffalo would, in fact, have Sean Ryan as their mayor. James Gardner, as you know, is running for mayor on the Republican conservative line. James has been out campaigning, has talked to various communities, has gotten a lot of support out of various communities. The problem, obviously, we're faced with 6-1 registration. We're faced with Sean Ryan having, we'll have $1 million to throw at this campaign. We're faced with that. We're faced with, unfortunately, Democrats just going to the polls and pulling the Democratic line. But this means something to each and every Democrat this time. This means each and every resident of the city of Buffalo must realize what a socialistic Democrat in Sean Ryan, what that will do to the city of Buffalo, what that will do to businesses in the city of Buffalo, what that will do to their tax base. Hopefully, we can communicate enough to them so that they understand there is that same substantial difference as there was between India Walton and Byron Brown.
Yeah, and don't forget Ralph and Amherst. We have a Sean, too, on the Democratic side, Working Families endorsed candidate Sean Lavin, running against Dan DeGagliardo.
When you're looking at that ballot and you see that Democratic candidate has that Working Families line, or anybody that has that Working Families line, you need to go in the other direction. All right, we're taking a break. Okay, welcome back. So now I want to introduce Sheriff John Garcia before I bring him on, because John won't talk about these things, but I want you to know. So, look, first of all, John was actually born in Spain. He came here at the age of 3. But John, in 1987, graduated from State University of Buffalo with a degree in political science. He completed New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services and Advancement Negotiating Training courses. He completed New York State Association of Hostage Negotiator courses. He's a graduate of the FBI Training Academy. He earned an FBI Crisis Negotiation Certificate. He has been honored many times. He's a former board member of the Erie County Mental Health Association. Look at this background. He's Vice President of New York State Association of Hostage Negotiators, Vice President of Western New York Law Enforcement Helpline. He won the Butler Award for Heroism, the highest award in Buffalo Police Department. He has the Badge of Honor Award, Erie County Law Enforcement Foundation Community Service Award, New York and New Jersey Organized Crime and Drug Enforcement Task Force Award, which he won twice, by the way. New York Association of Hostage Negotiator Bravery Award. Buffalo Police PBA Officer of the Month 4 different times. Buffalo Mayor Award 4 different times. John was shot in the line of duty on February 1st, 2010, when a man called and wanted to commit suicide, and John responded as a member of the hostage management team. He was shot in the head and chest, and the shooter was found dead. These are the things in the past of our great patriot and our great leader in the Sheriff's Department, John Garcia. Now, John was elected the 54th sheriff in the state of New York on November 2021. John, I really appreciate, we honor your service. You've done so much for us. Tell us now what you want to accomplish in the Sheriff's Department. So let's talk about the modern advancement in the Erie County Sheriff's Office.
Well, it's nice to be on your show, Mr. Lorigo, Ralph, and congratulations on the new show. You know, since the taking office 3.5 years ago, we wanted to make sure that the Erie County Sheriff's Office was a shining star of sheriff's offices across New York State. And the way we do that is to ensure that our staff has the right tools, the right training to implement best practices throughout our road deputies and our jails. And as you know, we have very aging facilities, both the Erie County Holding Center and the Erie County Correctional Facility. We've taken great strides in announcing with the county executive the fact that we will be building a new facility, one facility, and that's just to ensure that we're saving the taxpayers money. At the same time, we're delivering the best services in a safe environment for all people. The job is very difficult, Ralph, as far as corrections. And you've seen what happened in the state level, where many were fired, many were let go, many quit. and not because they were asking for more money and better benefits. They were asking for a safe environment. And that's a sad state of affairs that New York State Department of Corrections put their staff in. We don't want that to happen.
That's
here.
a terrible state of affairs. They admit that they were only 70% staffed, so they were 30% understaffed, and yet they were making these correction officers work 24, 36, and as much as 48 hours. No other employer in the state could make them do that. But as a result of what Kathy Hochul has done, firing 2,000 of these people, so the corrections or the prisons are understaffed. What does that do to your department?
Well, it's a trickle-down effect. So the governor is able to do that under fiat, and she said, I am not taking state readies until we get our house in order. Now, listen, what happened in New York State is not something that we created. And by we, I mean the Erie County Sheriff's Office, Erie County, and the other 61 counties around New York State. So we are having to make our employees work extra hours because our population in the jails has increased by 30%. 30%. So they were working the corrections officers in the state like mules. And I can't believe that they were having to work people 24 hours a day. I mean, that is just not human, and I feel for them. So it's costing us a lot of money, Mr. Lorigo, in housing, in feeding, in medicating, and all the other services and transportation costs that come with it. Meanwhile, the state still has National Guardsmen at the jails. They're still having to pay 2.5 times more overtime, and it's costing the state taxpayer, meaning us, $100 million a month.
It's incredible. She's putting the burden on the local counties, taking the burden off of her own shoulders, and putting that burden on to you. Isn't that what is happening?
That's exactly what's happening. So if you're not taking state readies, and state readies are people that are incarcerated and now they have been found guilty and they have been sentenced and they are ready to go and be transported to state prison, like happens any time of the year throughout the years. And what she did is basically say, hey, listen, we can't take any more people because we're short-staffed. So now you're going to take the brunt of it. Now you are going to be held responsible. And there's nothing we could do. There's nothing we could do other than, just drop them off there. So obviously we have to house them until they're ready. And during a normal course of the year, we might have about 20 state readies that are, ready to go to state prison. We're at over 150.
Wow.
So by the time this whole issue flushes out, you have to remember that there's a cost involved in each incarcerated individual. And the costs are, the medication, which at times are very, very expensive if it comes to opiate addiction like Suboxone, methadone. If we have a couple cancer patients that are in the tens of thousands of dollars every month. And we get reimbursed by the state $100 a day per inmate after they've been in our custody for 10 days. And that's unacceptable. As you said, the taxpayer in Erie County is having to foot the bill. And meanwhile, the mess in New York State is still ongoing. I mean, for the commissioner of Department of Corrections to say that 70% is the new 100% of employment is just unacceptable. How can you work these men and women that are parents, that are spouses, that are sons and daughters 18, 24 hours a day? I mean, that's just inhumane.
You're right. We're going to do a show on it. It'll be in the next few weeks. I will bring some of the correction officers that I represent to tell what it was like being a correction officer, what they were obligated to, what conditions they had to work under, about the HALT Act, about the fact that inmates were not punished whenever they did something wrong. I mean, all of that is terrible. We'll discuss it. And you have to deal with this with antiquated type of equipment and a facility. Isn't that true? What did you inherit?
So, we have a building that was built in 1939, and as you can imagine, it was built during the same time as the Rock Pile, the stadium downtown in the Fruit Belt, and it was built at the same time as the Odd, and they're both gone. And they were there to, house games. This is a building that's housing human beings, and also housing our staff, our most valuable asset, and those people that come in to provide services, medical services, and so forth. So this was built in mind for 1939 corrections, which was, put people behind, behind bars, lock the door and forget about it. And that's not what we do in 2025. What we want to do is make sure that the person that's in our custody doesn't come back. And we use tools to do that, and some of it is, work programs. Other of it is diagnosing what kind of disease they have so they don't go back out on the street and start using again and come right back to us, because that does no one any good. And the problem we're having, Ralph, is that a lot of times we'll have about 100 cells that are down for maintenance. 100 cells out of the cells that we have at the holding center. And they're down for plumbing, electric, locking mechanisms. And this is something the county, who's the landlord, needs to fix. But we are so far behind. We'll fix 20 of them, and then 10 will be down. And it's just a game of whack-a-mole trying to fix this. We'll have water that goes down for a day or so. We can't have this. We can't have this in 2025, and that's why we need to have a modern facility that's not linear in design, meaning if you look down a hallway of a hotel room, a hotel hallway, there's just doors. And it's impossible for a corrections officer or jail deputy to keep their eye on X amount of inmates in a secure manner. The minor facilities have a pod sort of design where 2 or 3 corrections officers could watch multiple incarcerated individuals in a safe manner. And it's taxing on the manpower, on the cost of the taxpayer, and I'm looking forward to a new facility being built out in Alden. The county owns 150 acres of land. We could expand there. We could do a much better job not having duplication of services and transportation costs and so forth. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. And we've done a lot since I've gotten into office as far as accreditation. And accreditation is saying, having people come in and saying, you are, in fact, implementing best practices. Your policies are in accordance to national guidelines and so forth, and your training is up to date. Now, that's costly to do, and we did it, and we're continuing to do it because the liability goes down, the incidents go down, the grievances go down, everybody's happier. And, we've achieved something that was really fantastic for our staff. We were the only county in the state that our corrections officers and jail deputies had to work 30 years. They were on a 30-year pension plan and had to be 63 in order to retire. Now,
I want to get to that in a second, but I want to stay on this jail study, the pod design that you talked about. So the design that you have is obviously antiquated, and because of that, takes more officers to be able to monitor. If we had the new pod design, you could actually save money in terms of employment costs. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. Right now we have 2 different facilities. This is what I inherited. 2 different facilities, one built in 85, one built in 39. The 2 facilities have 2 different types of staff members. You have corrections officers that are represented by CSEA out at the correctional facility in Alden, and you have jail deputies represented by Teamsters at the holding center. You have 2 different titles, you have 2 different badges, you have 2 different contracts, two different types of working conditions. They can't work one at the other location. It really is not a very good setup for to administer a professional law enforcement agency.
And I see that you're trying to modify those things. Look, we have to take a short break, and then we're going to get back to talk about this. We'll be right back, John. Hold on. Okay, welcome back. Again, if you want to ask a question of the sheriff or have a comment, the studio line is 716-500-1270. So, Bob Davis has a question for you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Ralph. Sheriff, great to hear your voice, and thank you for the great job you're doing as the top law enforcement officer for our county. But I got a question. I think I heard you right at the top of the segment here, where you said the average state-ready prisoner that you're housing in Erie County, that Erie County taxpayers are paying for, was around 20, and I think you said it's now 150 because of what Hochul's doing with respect to the mismanagement at the state level with the correction officers. If that's the case, you've got to be incurring millions and millions of dollars of cost over the course of the year that you were not before. And my question is, why haven't we heard that from the county executive and the county controller when they seem to be wanting to talk about a lot of other things, and they like spending $13 million to buy the Westwood Country Club from the town of Amherst, and yet it sounds like, Sheriff, that your office is being forced to spend millions of dollars to house state-ready prisoners in the county facilities because of the mess created by the Democratic governor, Kathy Hochul. Is that true?
Yes, and how you doing, Mr. Davis? Great to hear your voice, and thank you for the work you do. You know, it's a narrative that people don't hear because it's not being put out there by really anyone. You don't hear it in the Buffalo News. Just touching on it from time to time, but it's a huge issue. And listen, the New York State Department of Corrections, when they dropped the ball and they put their most valuable asset out on the street, people that are parents, that are part of the fabric of Western New York, and they treated them like inhumane, and they let them go, and now they're paying the price, and the price they're paying is now trickled down to every single county in the state. I have a weekly conference call with the sheriffs around New York State and the Sheriff's Association. This is a major issue. It's not something that we were able to budget for because we did not see this coming. And their problem has now created a problem for the local taxpayers here in Erie County. 150 people, housing, feeding, securing, transporting, the medical costs, pharmaceuticals, diagnosis, everything is we were having to foot this bill. Now, we're keeping track of this, and at the end of this, we are going to send a bill to the state, and we're hoping that they pay for these additional costs. If not, myself and the other sheriffs across the state are considering a lawsuit to the state because we find that it's actually insane that they're able to, not take their state readies and have us foot the bill. So you're not going to hear this because of politics, Bob. Obviously, you're familiar with that. They're not going to say that the Democratic governor has dropped the ball on this and now it's costing us money, and they're going to deflect each and every time that we mention it. So I thank you, gentlemen, for having us have a platform to speak about these issues, because otherwise it's a one-trick pony in this town, and that's Democratic angle on everything and not common sense.
Well, thank you, Sheriff, for clearing that up, because I didn't know it until this show, and I can't imagine that you're ever going to hear the Democratic County Executive or County Controller Kevin Harwark mention the fact that we're spending millions of dollars, Erie County taxpayer dollars, because of the problems caused by Kathy Hochul and the correction officers.
So, John, I want to talk about some of the programs that you want to initiate and that you are initiating. For example, creation of community engagement team and the behavioral threat assessment team. Tell us about some of these programs.
Well, it's amazing that we're in 2025 and the sheriff's office was never giving an opportunity to have community police officers. That's a community engagement team. We go out, we talk to the supervisors in each of the towns, and as you know, we cover 600 miles of the county. So we cover, huge part of the county. And we go out to the supervisors, we go to the neighborhood groups, and we get information from them, from the school districts. What are the trends? What's going on? When the school season started, we had issues with some kids and some threats online and so forth, and we took care of those. And they were very grateful that they had somebody that they could go to and address these problems, because the teachers were afraid. The school supervisors, superintendents, they needed someone to respond to this. And, we are there for this huge uptick, surge in property crimes that are happening throughout the county. Some of the stats that the FBI puts out as far as homicides going down, the surge of property crimes that are affecting the average taxpayer, from Clarence to Grand Island, from Brant to Sardinia. The Seneca Nation Indians are having the same problem, and we patrol there. It's property crimes, vehicles stolen, broken into, people arrested, no consequences, no repercussions. They continue doing it over and over again. They're frustrated. Law enforcement's frustrated. Judges are frustrated. We need a common sense approach to this new crime trend. And then on top of it, you have a lot of issues that might not seem like a big deal when it comes to, the whole law enforcement concept, but it's a big deal for people, and our community engagement team takes care of it. Our behavioral threat assessment team is something that we created after the TOPS mass shooting. That is to engage with people that are putting out threats in social media that are actually what we call is a escalation of violence, where it's stairway to violence, and it could nip it at the bud and stop this person from actually making his or her threats, like this person did in Broome County, where he said, my high school project is to kill as many people as possible, and somehow he threw, and was able to accomplish what he wanted to do, and it was terrible. And that's why we have created something that gives us a tool to stay ahead of all these issues that are coming on board. It's a lot of social media threats.
Sheriff, this is Russ Gugino, and I'll add my accolades to you as everyone else has. I wanted to ask you about the new stadium that's coming up, and are you going to be, Sheriff's Office going to be doing the security there, and will there be any changes in security with the new stadium?
Hello, Russ. Great question. So, yes, we are going to be the security force there. There's going to be a lot less seating, I think about 10,000 or so. We're going to need less people. The good thing is that the Buffalo Bills, starting in the 26-27 season, which will be the first season at the stadium, they're going to incur the cost of the traffic detail. So that's news for taxpayers in Erie County. And I got to tell you what happened yesterday. We had the blue and red practice game at the stadium, at Highmark Stadium. 35,000 people, which is incredible for a practice. It goes to show how people are enthused about this upcoming season in the Bills team. But we had a woman who was observed hanging the rail, had a medical emergency, was not breathing, had no pulse, no heartbeat. Deputies, they brought the woman up. They started CPR. An ambulance was called. They continued CPR until the ambulance got there, and afterwards we set up a police escort from Highmark Stadium to Mercy. This woman's alive today. And that goes to show you what we do during the off-season with our deputies. Observing issues, responding to issues, and certified in CPR, and so forth. And there is a good conclusion to something that could have really been tragedy.
I know you're also trying to improve the conditions for your own workers. The 25-year pension plan, correction health software upgrades. Tell us about how you're trying to help your own people, in these kinds of issues.
Chairman, our people are our most valuable asset. The reason we're able to accomplish any of this is because of the people of the Erie County Sheriff's Office, be it the road patrol, the jail management division, our clerks, our cleaners, our cooks. I mean, it is a 24/7 operation, 365 days a year. Like other departments in the at 5 o'clock, the control office, they turn off their computer and go home. We work throughout the day in storms, with the heat at the cooling center and no air conditioning, and it was stifling. We brought in industrial fans and so forth. They never had one rooms that were made for staff back in 1939. Care about that. So we have a gym that put at the on West Eagle for our people to use. We found out that people need to stay, eat well. They need the work-life balance. We can't be, like the state said, the 70% is the new 1% of employment. No, generation doesn't want the old time as the last generation. They want to have a balance in life, and they should. We started some wellness programs. If you have an issue, and there's a lot of trauma in corrections and on the road, and if you have an issue, could discreetly notify somebody, and we will take care of you. And because, again, you're the most valuable asset. You're on what your title is. For you, you're part of the community. You're a father or wife at home. And we saw just the other day a jail deputy, a mother, get assaulted by an inmate. And we made sure that not only she was taken care of for her physical ailment, which was the assault, but also trauma comes with that, and it comes to peers. So that's important, the wellness program. Now, the 25 pension plan, I couldn't believe when I got there that the jail deputies and corrections officers had to work 30 years and be 60 years of age. I mean, that's inhumane. That's a tough job. If you come on as a 23-year-old to have to do 40 years before you get full benefits. So we went to the 25, everybody else in the state, and I will thank everybody that supported us for that.
Look, John, we're coming up on a hard break. There's a lot I still want to talk to you about, so hopefully we can bring you back. I understand that car thefts are up 291%. You've got all kinds of things to deal with.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Roundtable.
I appreciate you being here
Ralph
today.
Lorigo,
We're going to bring you back again. We're up against a hard break. Thank you, everyone.
Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 1
Thank you,
p.m.
Chairman.
on 1270 The Patriot and on demand anytime at 1270thepatriot.com and click on podcasts.